on the situation in Jammu and Kashmir yesterday. The session, which was attended by all 15 members of the UN Security Council, was convened on the request of Pakistan and with the support of our time-tested friend, China. The discussions lasted over an hour, in which all Council members participated, including the P5 countries. In the closed meeting of the Council on 15th January, UN and UNMOGIP representatives briefed the Council members and confirmed that India's illegal actions of 5th August have resulted in the rise of tensions and that the local situation remains tense. Political leaders remain detained, internet and communications blockage remain in place. There is also deployment across the LOC. UNMOGIP members continue to face restrictions on the Indian side. During these discussions, which lasted over an hour, several countries, including P5 members, expressed serious concern regarding the situation in the occupied Jammu and Kashmir, including the continued curfew and blackout imposed on the Kashmiri people and the potential threat of a conflict. Pakistan is gratified that the Security Council has once again considered the Jammu and Kashmir situation. The UN Security Council session yesterday has reaffirmed once again that Jammu and Kashmir is an internationally recognized dispute. Its final disposition must be done in accordance with the relevant UN Security Council resolutions and the popular aspirations of the Kashmiri people. The agenda item on India-Pakistan question remains on the UN Security Council agenda list, and the Council is seized of the matter. We hope that such continuing international scrutiny will exert pressure on the Modi government and to help to reverse its unilateral measures and stop the human rights and ceasefire violations and the threats against Pakistan. The Foreign Minister, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, in his remarks to the press at the UN headquarters, has reaffirmed unequivocally that Pakistan will continue its efforts and be the voice of the oppressed Kashmiris all over the world. We will continue to advance their inalienable right to self-determination as provided by the Security Council resolutions. At the UN headquarters, the Foreign Minister has held 3 very important meetings with the President of the Security Council, the President of the UN General Assembly, and the UN Secretary General. In his meeting with the President of the Security Council, the Foreign Minister welcomed the briefing and by the Department of Political Affairs and the Department of Peace Building on the Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. He apprised the President of Security Council on the current situation and the devastating impact of over 5 months-long draconian lockdown that rejects all claims made by India of normalcy. The Foreign Minister underscored that persistent warmongering and aggressive rhetoric from Indian political and military leadership was a threat to regional peace and security with profound risk of any miscalculation. He urged the Security Council to act decisively to prevent a disastrous war between Pakistan and India and to call for an end to the grave human rights violations in occupied Jammu and Kashmir, and to enable the Kashmiri people to exercise their right to self-determination as was promised to them by the Security Council. Later, the Foreign Minister, in his meeting with the UN Secretary General, underlined the urgent need for the UN to act decisively by taking immediate steps to halt these dangerous policies, discourage India from provoking a conflict with Pakistan, and avert humanitarian catastrophe and growing dangers to South Asian peace and stability. The Foreign Minister also briefed the UN Secretary General on Pakistan's ongoing efforts to diffuse tensions in the region through proactive engagement with Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the US. The UN Secretary General, in his remarks, expressed the importance of maintaining peace and stability in South Asia and the Middle East region through political dialogue, diplomatic solutions, and respect for human rights. Later, the Foreign Minister held talks with the President of the UN General Assembly and exchanged views on a range of issues, including developments at the global and regional levels. It was agreed that the United Nations remains an indispensable institution for advancing dialogue, cooperation, and pursuing collective solutions to global challenges, including poverty alleviation, access to education, agriculture, illicit financial flows, climate change, and sustainable development goals. The Foreign Minister apprised the UN Secretary General on the launch of the landmark national programs by the Prime Minister of Pakistan, such as the Ehsaas program on poverty alleviation and the Sehat Sahulat program on universal health care. Concluding his important visit to New York, the Foreign Minister will now be visiting Washington, D.C., where he will have discussions with American leadership and senior officials, including his counterpart, Secretary Pompeo, National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien, and other senior administration officials. The Foreign Minister will also have meetings on the Capitol Hill, as well as engagements with the media, think tanks, and the Pakistani American diaspora. In his official talks, the Foreign Minister will focus on the evolving situation in the Middle East and bilateral cooperation. He will also brief his interlocutors on the prevailing situation in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir and Pakistan's continued role and resolve to support the Afghan peace and reconciliation process. As you are aware, prior to visiting the US, the Foreign Minister had undertaken an intensive diplomatic outreach in the Middle East under the Prime Minister's direction, and as part of our ongoing efforts towards peace and stability in the region. We have issued comprehensive press release on the Foreign Minister's engagements and discussions in both Riyadh and Tehran, and his subsequent visit to Muscat to offer condolences on the sad demise of Sultan Qaboos on behalf of the President, the Prime Minister, and the people of Pakistan. Thank you very much. We can move towards a cup of tea, and I'm happy to hear you in great detail and to take all your questions. Thank you.
solidarity के ऊपर मैं वर्कआउट कर रहा हूँ अभी आज मेरे साथ